What up, players? It's Warboss Tay back up in this mug. Welcome to a quick and dirty tutorial. It's kind of like a real short snapshot where I'm not going to be filming, full-on filming step by step, but you're going to just see generally how I do my cracked earth basing. And I do two iterations of this. The first one you would have seen last year for my July painting challenge. That was mostly all, it was supposed to look like a desert wilderness kind of cracked earth. And for the Eldar ones, which I'm going to be showing you today, it's got a little bit of gray and some debris in it to make it look more like a Fallout kind of post-apocalyptic nightmare hellscape. And that's the one we're going with today. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take some brown paint. I'm going to be using Dryad Bark, but you could use any brown paint. And you're going to be painting two areas of the base. And we're kind of dividing the base up into four areas. They could be different sizes, but the other areas you didn't paint, you're going to be putting this layer of textured paint on. I'm going to be using astrogranite debris because it's gray, it's already the color I want, and it's less work that I'm going to be needing to do later. So on top of that Dryad Bark paint, once that Dryad Bark is completely dry, you want to wait a couple of hours, let that dry, because you don't want that paint to get mixed up with your Argellen earth. Once that Dryad Bark is dry, you're going to be painting on a heavy layer of Argellen earth. And Argellen earth is already the color of cracked earth, hence the name, but you could use other kinds of textured paint, or crackle paint rather, and just add the color yourself. I'm trying to go for the least amount of steps as possible, and which is why I'm using Argellen earth. It's already colored the way I want it to be. So you have to also layer it pretty heavy. Use a brush that you don't mind getting messed up and really just slather your base with it, because the heavier this layer of Argellen earth crackle paint is, the larger the cracks are going to be, the larger the pieces are going to be when the crackle paint dries and starts splitting up. If you paint a thin layer of that Argellen earth on the base, then the cracks are going to be really small and the pieces are going to be breaking up really small. This is what it's going to look like about halfway through. I let this dry overnight because I really wanted it to be completely dry, broken up, and cracked. And the next part anyways, the washes, which is why we want to make sure the entire base is dry before we get into that. You don't want your Agrax Earthshade or whatever wash you decide to use. You don't want that mixing in with the colors of the astrogranite debris or the Argellen earth. You might see that I also splotched some of that Argellen earth onto the astrogranite debris there. You can either leave that or not. Definitely if you get it on your model, sometimes I would suggest maybe not doing it with a painted model on top, or doing this part first, or doing your bases separately, but I just decided paint the model and then do the bases last. If I get any of that Argellen stuff on the actual model, like there in that figure you see at the bottom of her tabard, I'm just going to paint over it. No harm, no foul. Is totally okay. And that's it. This is going to be the part one, because I got to let it dry overnight, and tomorrow we will put up part two, where you can see how we add the washes and how we highlight the base to make it look like that post-apocalyptic wasteland. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see me go a little bit more in-depth and hear more of my personal thoughts, click the link below. It'll lead you to a post on my WordPress blog where I talk a little bit more about it and show a couple more pictures. Thanks again for watching. See you in the next video. Latest, players!